Hey guys, I'm Jie, and I'll be presenting the China flood of 1931. So the reason why I'm deciding on this topic was mainly because of my early memories. When I was still a baby, I remember seeing the scene where I was carried towards the windows and looking down towards the streets that was heavily flooded with muddy water. So what is the flood of 1931? So on August 25th, 1931, central China experienced the worst natural disaster to be recorded. The flood took over an area equivalent in size to England and a half of Scotland. About 3.4 million people were killed, 3.4 million to 4 million, and the damage dealt was up to 104 billion US dollars. In China, many Chinese call this event the Yangtze Hua flood, mainly because not only was the Yangtze area flooded, but the Yellow River and the Hua River areas were also flooded. For the tectonic setting, the tectonic plate that this flood occurred on is the Yangtze plate. The Yangtze plate is the part of the Eurasian plate which is bounded to the east by the Okinawa, Sunda, Amur, and the Philippine plates. The Yangtze plates move at a relatively slow rate of 13 millimeters per year. Currently, most boundaries of the Yangtzes are either divergent, convergent, or lateral, meaning there are no subducting plates in contact with the Yangtze plate. Although not seismically active, the Yangtze plate did contribute to the creation of many faults in other areas of Eurasia. The areas in the middle and lower reaches are usually affected by cyclones, and so therefore a lot of floods. For geological settings, this economic zone of Yangtze River can be found divided into four landforms, which are low mountain plains in the east, low middle mountains in the southeast, middle high mountain in the southwest, and the Qinghua Tibetan Plateau. The Yangtze River shaped its landform during the same time as the Jurassic period, when the river was flowing from east to west edge into the Tethys Sea. There were strong movements that occurred in the Himalaya mountain range, which involved the western part to gradually become higher than the eastern part. Therefore, the Yangtze River changed its direction into the east edge as of now. In the Yangtze River basin, there are intermediate acid igneous rocks and complicated source rocks together with strong chemical weathering, which determines the elemental composition of the Yellow River sediments. So, what's the cause of the China flood in 1931? Well, there are many contributing reasons. Firstly, from 1928 to 1930, China was experiencing a serious drought, and then following that drought was a cold, harsh winter. So the ice and the snow that was built up in the mountainous regions were where the rivers originate from. So once spring came, the ice and snow melted, causing the river levels to rise. Then the following summer, China experienced a powerful monsoon in which was followed closely upon heavy spring rain. So typically, the Yangtze Basin expects to be hit by two cyclonic storms in a year. However, by July 1931, there were already seven cyclones. With this much water flowing through the rivers, it could easily lead to heavy flooding. People living in this region of China also contributed to these deadly floods. People had developed and built more modern farming techniques which required maintenance, but it wasn't properly cured. Then there were rebellions, wars, and political instability that occurred in China mountainous regions where the rivers originate from. So, what was learned from this disaster? So, China boasted a tradition of charitable activities and often funding services which were vital to the survival of the disaster stricken communities. In 1931, Wuhan business community raised enough funds for food relief. Funds were also used to sponsor necessities for the community, such as rice porridge kitchens, boats to distribute boiling water, and crews to dispose of corpse. The cooperative organizations that had been used to reconstruct farming communities were adapted, becoming a central feature of the government's rural economic policies. In the wake of the 1931 flood, the nationalist government under Chiang Kai-shek had begun preliminary works in the Dui Georgia's area, but sadly, most of the changes and policies that was passed as a result of this flood was abandoned due to the 15 years of war that China went into shortly after the flood. So this dam over here that they were planned to build that started as early as the 1931 flood didn't get completed until 2000 until the early 2000s. All right, and thank you for listening. This is my project.